So working with David and the Deltine team, it's been, I suppose from my first introduction, I've known David now for 10 years, and I've watched him go through the process of, being a sort of active, advisor and engaged in this space to then, I hadn't seen him for a period of time, and he come back and mentioned to me how he'd been involved in a company that he'd built and, been the part of the exit of that company in the US. And so when he was telling me about what he was doing with the Deltine Motel Fund, it was super interesting to me because we see a lot of different deal types, but we hadn't come across that sort of type of opportunity. And the way I've seen them execute is something exceptional, because often when people come to you with sort of ideas on how they want to approach things, typically, they don't really have the teams or the structure, whereas David already had that in place. And what I've noticed with that team is their ability to execute and to basically create capacity for more opportunities at pace is pretty exceptional. And more than that, they've obviously got strong track record on the building of businesses part. So to overlay that to what they're doing with the fund, is why one of the big reasons why I like working with them, and also why I like promoting them to our investor base. When we start the engagement process, I mentioned to David, in going through this process, one of the best things for you to do is to not only, talk to people about what you're going to be doing, but then as you do it, communicate that you've done it, and then also to communicate the next steps. And that's exactly what they've done. Like the moment he basically secured the first deal, the announcements went out about doing it. And then now as they start securing their next larger projects, I've watched them do exactly what they've said they're going to do to investors within the time frame that they've mentioned that they're going to be doing it. I was speaking to a fund manager probably about sort of 2-3 weeks ago, and I suppose they highlighted for me something about what sort of Deltine are doing that, that is pretty quite unique. And effectively, this fund manager said to the point that they've gone around and looked at all the various property-related opportunities, whether it be commercial property, residential property, industrial property, etc. And what they found was the strategy focused around motels, its ability to generate yield and also the sort of equity growth is probably one of the best opportunities they've seen in the actual property market. So, David's obviously had some foresight in that as an area, and hence why they've been successful today in the building of the business and the building of the fund.